The Indiana Fever just whooped the Dallas Wings, and I want to talk about Caitlin Clark's playmaking because I know the shot hasn't been falling for her in the past few games, but her playmaking is something that has to be studied, man. It is her second year in the WNBA, and she is already by far the greatest playmaker in WNBA history. And even in all these games where Caitlin Clark is not shooting the
ball well, Paige Bueckers just threw some serious shade at Caitlin Clark after getting absolutely demolished by the Indiana Fever. The Dallas Wings star had some choice words in her post-game press conference that'll have everyone talking. Clark's team crushed them 1-0-2-8-3, and Booker's reaction was anything but gracious. You won't believe what she said. What do you think? Was Paige being too salty, or was she just being real about what went down?
A few of the turnovers that, the 4 turnovers today, I think a few of them were picked off by Caitlin. Was there anything in particular that you saw maybe that she was kind of step ahead, or it kind of seemed like she was jumping the passing lanes a few times?
Yeah. I mean, you answered it. She was just, she's just a very smart basketball player, so she'll get out and deny passing lanes. I'm going to make catches difficult. But yeah.
So here we are again, folks. Another day, another WNBA drama that has social media absolutely losing its mind. And this time it's all about Paige Bueckers and her not-so-subtle comments about Caitlin Clark after what can only be described as a complete beat down courtesy of
like no one
Indiana
else, and
Fever.
It's all dependent upon the Indiana Fever getting stops. They got so many stops against the Dallas Wings in this game, especially in the second quarter, and off those stops, the Fever were able to get out in transition. And if Caitlin Clark has the ball in transition and players are cutting to the basket, like Kelsey Mitchell, she was cutting a lot. Natasha Howard was also cutting a lot. You had Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, those girls shifting out to the three-point line in transition, so Caitlin Clark can make those passes if she wants to. Like, if everybody drifts to the right place while Caitlin Clark has the ball in transition, I'm telling you, this Indiana Fever team becomes
Let me paint you this picture. The Dallas Wings walked into Indianapolis thinking they had a chance. They left with their tails between their legs and a 19-point loss that felt way worse than the final score suggested. And Paige, well, she had some thoughts about the whole situation that she just couldn't keep to herself. First off, let's talk about what actually happened on the court, because the numbers don't lie. The Fever absolutely dismantled the Wings 10,283, and it wasn't even that close. This was one of those games where you're watching and thinking, okay, surely they'll make a run. But that run never came. The Wings looked lost, confused, and frankly outclassed in every possible way.
Up against one another in the WNBA. It is also only Caitlin Clark's 3rd game back from injury, and this season for the Indiana Fever has been a roller coaster ride. There has been ups, there has been downs, there has been times that we have been so confused on what is actually going on with this team.
Caitlin Clark, who's now in her 2nd year dominating this league, put on an absolute clinic. 14 points and 13 assists. That's the kind of performance that makes you remember why she was the 1st overall pick. Meanwhile, Paige managed 21 points, which sounds impressive until you realize her team got blown out by nearly 20 points. Individual stats mean nothing when your team is getting embarrassed on national television.
Paige, the second quarter was a tough one. Just what were some of the things that you saw that led to the Fever having such a significant margin?
Mostly just transition defense and us not getting back. Maybe crashing too many, or just not having 2 people back, rushing up to the ball instead of getting back. And then just on missed shots.
Back. And then just on missed shots. But here's where it gets really interesting. After the game, during what should have been a standard post-game press conference, Paige decided to get a little too comfortable with the microphone. And let me tell you, what came out of her mouth was anything but the usual "we'll get them next time" nonsense we're used to hearing
about it, but now that you finally have played a game against Caitlin and the W, just what was it like? What was the atmosphere like today going head to head with her?
Yeah, it's fun. Anytime we can compete against each other. We're two competitors who just want to win and who have grown up to be playing against each other, playing with each other. So it's great, and the environment's great here. I feel like every game is a sellout, and so they have a great home court advantage.
when asked about Clark. Specifically, Paige's response was loaded with more passive-aggressive energy than a group chat after someone doesn't respond to plans. She said there are two competitors who just want to win, which sounds innocent enough until you hear the tone. There was definitely some underlying frustration there. And honestly, can you blame her?
Lee Aru the other night had a season-high 18 points. Here's Boston turning the corner. Dishing to Hull. Extra feed Clark. A deep three. You bet!
Wings are sitting at 6-6 right now, which is mediocre at best. They're supposed to be building around Paige as their franchise player, but they keep losing games they should win. Meanwhile, Clark is out here, breaking records and making highlight reels every single night. That's got to sting a little bit, especially when you're the one getting outplayed. Head-to-head, what really caught my attention was how Paige talked about the physicality of the game. She mentioned how the Fever's physicality really bothered us and took away our flow and continuity. Now, I'm not saying she's making excuses, but that sure sounds like someone who's frustrated that they couldn't handle the pressure. Clark thrives in physical games. That's what separates good players from great ones. The most telling moment came when Paige was asked about transition defense.
You went through some of the injury stuff that she has this year. Have you talked to her, offered any support or anything like that?
No, I haven't talked to her personally, but I know she's got a great team around her. She works extremely hard. She has a great work ethic, sending prayers. You don't wish injury upon anyone. So just wishing her speedy recovery. But no, I didn't reach out personally.
And let's be real about something else. The way Paige talked about Clark's injury situation was interesting. When asked if she'd reached out to Clark about her recent injury struggles, Paige said no. She hadn't talked to her personally. She gave the standard sending prayers response, but there was something cold about it. Like, these are two of the biggest stars in the league, and they can't even have a conversation off the court. The competitive rivalry between these two goes way back to their college days. UConn versus Iowa was appointment television, and now we're seeing that same energy in the WNBA. But here's the difference. Clark has figured out how to win at the professional level, while Paige is still trying to find her footing with a Wings team that can't seem to get out of their own way. What really stood out to me was how Paige handled questions about her own performance. She kept deflecting to team issues and talking about staying together through adversity. That's leadership talk, but it also sounds like someone who's trying to convince themselves as much as everyone else. When your team gets blown out and you're the supposed franchise player, you need to own that performance.
Caitlin Clark reminded everybody who she is in the Fever win over the Wings in what was a blowout victory. One where Clark didn't even shoot the ball well again, but she completely dominated the game and shows the difference between her and everyone else through her playmaking. Not to mention, she played very well defensively. You know, there's this narrative out there sometimes that she's a defensive liability, which is clearly not the case. A bunch of steals in this game, good shot blocking guard as well, but it's what she's able to do to set everyone else up and in the open floor and with her court vision that no one else is able to.
The Wings are now 0-2 against the Fever this season, which has to be eating at Paige. She's competitive. We know that about her. But losing twice to the same team, especially Clark's team, in such decisive fashion, that's got to mess with your head a little bit. And it showed in her post-game comments. Here's what I think is really going on. Paige is dealing with the reality that being a professional athlete is different from being a college star. In college, you can dominate through individual talent and willpower. In the WNBA, you need a complete team, and right now the Wings just don't have that. Clark landed in a better situation with better coaching and better players around her. But instead of acknowledging that, Paige keeps talking about process and staying together in all these abstract concepts that don't actually win basketball games. Meanwhile, Clark is out here dropping dimes and making her teammates better every single night. That's the difference between talking about leadership and actually leading. The comment about Clark being a smart basketball player who gets out with passing lanes was particularly interesting. On the surface, it sounds like a compliment, but the way Paige said it felt more like grudging acknowledgement of someone who's consistently outplaying you. Clark picked off several of Paige's passes during the game, which is embarrassing for any point guard, let alone one who's supposed to be a franchise player.
First meeting against Fever, they were trapping you a lot. Today, you were still able to be efficient and get your points. How do you feel like they kind of guard you maybe differently this time compared to the first game?
I feel a lot in the same. I still feel like I could have taken care of the ball better. But just making the right read out of the trap, out of them setting a double and then playing to that advantage. So more to him.
What are the challenges that the Fever defense kind of poses when they are blitzing as a unit?
Just bringing two to the ball, which then creates an advantage for us on the backside, playing 4 against 3. So just ball screens are a huge part of our offense, though, and a huge part of what I like to play off of. So just reading that, when to use a ball screen, when not to use a ball screen, when to just get out in space and either do pitch and catch and touches to try to alleviate that.